So back again. It is Monday, 8:02 p.m. on March 25th, 2024. Trying my hand at Bounty of 1. Let's make a couple changes here. 1, let's turn you way down. Let's full screen you. No music volume. All right, let's give it a chance. Let's play a little bit. So I decided to play around with a few games that were like Vampire Survivors, and this is one of the ones that I found. It's called Bounty of 1. It's a bit different. Let's double check controls. Confirm dash. Yeah, so rather than you really having control over the shooting, it automatically shoots for you. I'm giving it a try. Redemption options. No, nothing to do here. So let's give it a try. So it's so far hasn't been too bad. It auto aims for you, so you don't really have much of a choice of where you want to shoot, as far as I can tell. You still gather coins, just like or some type of coin token like Vampire Survivors. You can't move while shooting, so it's much more. It's a little bit more strategic, I guess, because you have to. Yeah, we'll go for the gain more damage. It's a little bit more strategic because you have to. Aim or wait for the game to shoot people before you can kind of move forward. But so far it hasn't been too bad. Gain much more damage. Yeah, let's take that. But so far it's been alright. I don't mind it at all. It does give you some permanent things that I don't think I would have expected in a kind of Vampire Survivors game. So you can only get hit 3 times, which is a little sad. But and of course you can always get more health. Attract all collectibles. You also shoot behind you. I will choose to shoot behind me. So I just started playing this game a few minutes ago, and trying it out. One of the things that you get is you can get a little minion, and I like that minion over trying to use one of my other options. This guy's a pain in the butt. Gain more damage. As you can see, like, it only leaves you with 2 out of 3. Let's see if we can kite this guy around. Yeah, there we go. So, Starang consistently spirals around you and inflicts damage to your enemies. It goes through and shoots at your current attack speed. Bounce 2 more times. Projectiles that bounce now do so in the opposite direction. Let's try the Pistarang. I haven't tried it yet. So it doesn't seem too bad. I'm gonna die, I think. Your shots pierce through one enemy. Raise the range of your attack area effect and pick up range by 40%. Yeah, but I die so fast in this game. Let's give it a retry. No, it's not a bad game so far. But I die really fast. I guess they have I guess there is a timer somewhere, but I don't know what it is. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I didn't notice before the guys every time you hit them say like ouch and or every time they die. Raise your maximum health, reduce the cooldowns of dashes. Yeah, let's raise my maximum health. Unless I die really fast. But it's not bad. Yeah, it's not bad. I don't mind it as far as games go. Gain a little bit more damage. Just enough to kind of kill these guys on one hit. Except for these guys. These guys don't go on one hit. And let's see what I get. Spawns. Yeah, here's the one. Spawns an invincible minion that picks up coins for you. I really like this one because then I don't have to do anything. I don't have to try to collect coins. Oof. I need to gain some more attack speed. One of these guys could give a heart. It was really close. Gain more attack speed. Let's see if we can kite this guy out. I'll get a chest when I defeat him. But man, the fact that you don't control where you aim is a bit of a pain because then you have absolutely no control over like what? Gain immunity to enemy 2 enemy damage each time you level up. The immunity lasts for 5 seconds. You gain 50% move speed and inflict damage to enemies you go through. Your first piercing shot now targets the closest enemy. Gain 1 pierce. I'm not sure. Your first piercing shot now targets the closest enemy. Gain 1 pierce. Okay. Not bad. I like it. Raise the range of your area effect and pickup range. Yeah, okay. Then there's just a point where you just can kind of sit and do nothing, which isn't bad. Not completely sit and do nothing, apparently. Gain a little bit more damage, gain more attack speed. Ow. Let's get this heart. Gain more damage. Increase your chance of dealing critical damage. Let's do more damage. I'm gonna have to dodge this fireball. Gain more damage, more attack speed, more attack speed. Yeah, not bad. So you can kind of just sit here and do nothing. That is kind of nice. I imagine I won't be able to do that forever, but I guess I was lucky enough to get the choices that I got this time around. Raise damage. Nice. Heals you each time you gain level. 2 shields rotate around you and block enemy projectiles. I'm gonna go for the 2 shields rotate around me and block enemy projectiles. Your critical damages deal 75% more damage. Let's go for that. Bad. So now we can kind of just sit here and aim and do nothing. while my minion goes around collecting stuff. I really like the minion thing. Let's see. I might have to up my damage shortly. Yeah. Increases your chance of dealing critical damage. Let's go for a little bit more attack speed. Yeah. So it's not bad. It's Vampire Survivor-esque without being, and clearly they've gone kind of the Western route. Is the range of your area effect. More damage. So it's not bad. But no, it's Vampire Survivor-esque without, in a Western motif. Ooh, that hurt. Gain more damage. More damage. I think I might need to start playing into Critical Strike. Or just dodging more. Gain more damage. Let's go for more damage again. Oof, almost got me there. Yeah, like I said, the inability to actually pick a direction of how you aim is a little sad. Gain more movement speed. Let's go for critical damage. I might actually start to invest in it. Nice. Let's see. Deals damage in an area around you before you dash. Gain an immunity to enemy damage each time you level up. The immunity lasts for 5 seconds. You gain 50% move speed and inflict damage to the enemies you go through while it lasts. Always target deputies. Gradually increases your damage and attack speed until it dies or it's off of the screen. Yeah, let's go for that. Ooh. Oh, almost got hit there. Let's go for the critical, and then next time around go for damage. I gotta dodge this, or I guess I don't. That was close. That was close. I think I might need to start upping my... What's this? Ooh, projectiles bounce one more time. I think I'll take it. Nice. Hopefully that allows me to clear the screen a bit better and faster. My minions. Oh, there's the... gain a dash? Oh, there's this Rex, Cupcake, and Brutus. Now here's where movement speed would have come in handy. But so far, it's not too bad. It's not too bad. Rex, Cupcake. Oh, there's 3 of them. Ooh. Oh, it was almost a close one. I should have taken some other things now that I know this is what was going to happen. Let's see. Oof, that was a close one. Yeah, I think I might have taken some increased reduction of... I would have taken the increased reduction of abilities. Your projectiles now bounce off the edge of the screen. Let's take a look at no. Let's see. My projectiles now bounce off the edge of the screen, but reduce your attack speed by 30%. I'm not a fan of that. Gain armor that protects you from one hit. A pistarang constantly spirals around you. It inflicts your damage to enemies it goes to and shoots at your current attack speed. I'm going to take the pistol ring. Did I lose my little buddy? I think I lost my little buddy. Oh no. Hold on a second. Nobody's messaging me. Let's continue. I've lost my little buddy. Oh no. So I guess I got to go around picking up stuff. And here's where the flaw is. I didn't realize I would lose him. Oh, there he is. It's back again. There's a little buddy. Just picking up items for me. Let's gain more attack speed, and then next time around I'll pick up crit. My little buddy's back. Little buddy picking up all my coins. I might have to move in a moment. Yep, I'm gonna have to move to dodge somebody. Kite this guy out. Almost ran into him. Yes. Nice. Let's see what we got. Emits an aura that slows enemies in an area around you for 35%. Gain 10% experience from future and past coins. Not bad. I think I'm going to take the experience. Hold on a second. Window. My Chrome got updated. Let's see. Blah, blah. Let's go for the experience. I don't mind the slow. I just don't know if I actually want to use it. Gain a lot more damage. Yeah. Nice. So now all I need is the attack speed to go with it. But it seems to be pretty good. Your critical damage. Let's gain more damage for now, and then if we get an opportunity to... Oh, and it's fairly responsive too, so it's not like you get caught. One second. Yes. Man, I should have dodged that. He was a deputy. Nice. Let's take a look. When one of your dash slots is ready, create a burst that does 100% damage in an area around you. Gain 1 dash. Slows enemy projectiles in an area around you. When one of your dash slots is ready, create a burst that does 100% damage. Let's see. I don't know. I don't really feel strongly about any of them. When one of your dash slots is ready, create a burst that does 100% damage. Deals damage in an area around you before dash. Slows enemy projectiles in an area around you. Let's go for that one. Let's stay in the 2 dashes. Oh man, that was silly of me. I literally dashed into something. Let's see. Let's see if we can get any more hearts and heal before. Ooh, that's nice. That was a nice slowdown there. Sometimes I confuse my little buddy for an enemy. But let's up my attack speed by a lot. And up my damage if we get the opportunity. Oh, I gotta find some health somewhere. Ooh, there's some health. Nice. Ooh, I'm about to literally run into a fireball. And right after I just got it too. Let's do more damage. And let's see what we got in this chest here. Your projectiles slow down an enemy they touch by 70% for 1 second. Heal every time I gain a level. Let's do the healing, because I feel like I keep getting damaged a lot. So, and I feel like I level up fairly often. So we'll go for that. Oh, yay. Yeah. Let's take a look. Ooh, almost dashed to an enemy there. Hmm. Hmm. See. Let's keep going. Ooh, almost got ran into there. I'm at 3 out of 5. I wonder if there's a time limit on this. Get one more choice for each upgrade. Gain movement speed. Gain 2 dashes. I'm going to go for the choice on the upgrades. So the minion's working overtime. Oh, almost got me there. Be nice. Health. Get the health. Oh, I'm at 5 out of 5. I can't get any more health. Never mind. A bunch of the other games, when you roll over health, they just keep letting you. They don't let it stack, but like it stays there. Gain attack speed. Then I gotta get damage. Let's kite this guy out. A little bit more. Nice. Let's see what we get. When one of your dash slots is ready, create a burst. Collect when I eliminate a deputy. Ooh. I'm gonna go for the slow rather than getting bigger. I do like the damage, but that 5% slower. I don't have any other buffs going for me, so that's what I worry about. Yeah, if I had taken some like speed up buffs, I think it would have been fine. But I didn't, so this isn't bad. I think I'm on like the easiest level though, so like I can't really complain. I really do wish that I could aim and like prioritize. Let's do more attack speed. And let's see where we can go from there. I wonder if there's like a time limit. Like, do you run out at 30? I don't see any times listed so far. But the sheriff is incoming. Oh, man. Oh, man. That was a close call there. This isn't too bad. I don't mind it. Luckily, I have like a bunch of stuff to like slow down the enemy. I'm really glad I got that. I think it would have been a lot worse if I didn't have that in. Oh man, somebody's calling me. Let me finish this boss fight, then I'll call him back. Yeah, this slowdown really helps a lot. Nice. Now I'll wait for it to finish, and let's see if my little buddy comes back. Every 30 shot stop is slow, huge, deals 3 times more damage, and cannot be stopped. Nice. You also shoot behind you, shoot an orbiting projectile regularly. Max 20 projectiles at the same time. I wanna see what this one looks like. Alright. Hold on a second. I'll be right back. I need to make a phone call, apparently. I do apologize. Let me switch this over to be right back. I apologize about that. Let's switch back over. Oh, there we go. So the big bullet's kind of weird. I think it'll be hard to time that with. Maybe with a boss, but I think it'll be hard to time. Nice. Gain a little bit of attack speed. Damage. Let's go for damage. I feel like this character's a little weak. Where'd my buddy go? Where's my buddy? Oh, he always disappears for like a few minutes after I beat a boss. Let's see if he comes back. Nice. There he is. There's the little buddy. I had to dodge though. Oof. So I didn't get to use my bullet. Let's see what I got in this box. Gain an immunity to enemy damage each time you level up. Saw that one. Permanently augments your damage by 30%, but reduces your attack speed by 20%. No. Deals damage. I don't want any of them. Let's go for this. Let's gain an immunity to enemy damage each time you level up. Maybe this one. Permanently augments your damage by 30%, but reduces your attack speed by 20%. I really like my attack speed. Deals damage in an area before you dash. Obtain 6 dash slots. Nice. Let's go for that. My little buddy's back collecting all the coins for me. Oh, yeah. The standing still is a little weird. Like, I'm so used to the other games where you don't raise health. Your shots pierce through more than one enemy. Shit. I picked the wrong one. Oh, well. I meant to do the shots piercing more than one enemy. But it's okay. I realized that always aiming at the deputy may not be the best approach, because it does mean that I keep aiming. You also shoot behind you. When your projectile should be destroyed, their damage is reduced by 50% and they pierce instead. You also shoot behind you. Permanently augments your damage by 30%, but reduces your attack speed by 20. Let's go for the shoot behind. Nice. Ooh, gotta dodge. The combo of the shield and the slowdown is really nice. Let's pierce through the shots. Let's see. That. Getting a little close here. A little close. Almost. Phew. It's a dodge. Is that my bullet? Did it bounce? I think my bullet's bouncing around the screen. I think it's bouncing off the edges. Maybe? That alright? Nope. I just keep firing them. Crit deals more damage. Let's gain more damage. Yeah. Not bad. Yeah, no, this always aiming at the deputy. It's great, but like, it's a little too much. Because, like, I need to hit other things, otherwise I die. Let's see what we got. Gain an immunity. We've seen that one. Triples your shot permanently. Oh, but reduces my attack speed. I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna go triple for my shot, but reduces my attack speed, and I'll just get more attack speed, because I should just get more attack speed. Oh, this is kind of nice. Then it doesn't reduce the damage; it just triples it. And the leveling up means that I've gained health. Not bad. Oof. Oof. I'm gonna die. Um, gain more attack speed. And then I'll gain more damage later on. I'm so not used to this. I want to move while the character fires, but you can't. But again, the game compensates for that. And I do like the Wild Wild West motif kind of perspective. Or I guess theme, the Wild Wild West theme. Um, so it's not bad. Let's see what we got. Oof, about to get hit. I might need to up the damage again. I'm going and I'm going. I feel like it's been more than 30 minutes. I'm so used to other games where they're like, all right, cool, it's been 30 minutes. Yeah, I'm going to need to up the damage. Oh, I know why. It only aims at the deputy for a while. Damage. Yeah, that thing about only aiming at the deputy, it's both good and bad. Like it's nice that it prioritizes it. Shoot an orbiting projectile regularly, slows enemies. Permanently raises your attack speed by 40, but half of your shots are less precise. I'm gonna go for shooting an orbital projectile. Um, let's give it a try. Nice. I wonder if there's like a time limit or just, oh yeah, I guess another deputy will show up eventually. Um, yeah, let's up the attack speed. I feel like I'm not hitting them fast enough. Attack speed. It's either that or damage. The sheriff is incoming. Is this? Yeah, I'm so used to not being able to move while I attack. But this isn't bad. Like I'm gonna have to dodge. Dash, dash, dash. The bosses get a bit easier now that once you get to about, I guess, this level. So it's not bad. Let's dash. Sit over here. Dodge, dodge, dodge. Dash. Da, 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 da. The Undertaker. Yeah, I don't know when the. And apparently the big bullets don't hit him? Did it just go through? Um. Yeah, okay. Oh, and the Undertaker's more. I see, I see. Not bad. Oof. The shield is nice. I didn't realize the shield would block these. That means I can use the shield against these projectiles. Nice. Oof. What is my little guy doing? He's just running around. Is there still stuff to collect? I guess there is. This is kind of. I feel like it's a bit of cheating. Like there's not like it's bad. I'm just there's nothing going on. Not bad. Infamy level 1. Let's submit my score. And continue. Win a game. Cool. Take 20 hits in total. Win a game after picking a Big Bertha. It was you all along. Obtain 4 dash slots. Jumpy behavior. Obtain 6 dash slots. Long jump champion. Dash 10 times in one game. No aim needed. Get 180-degree no scope. And 3 is the magic number in one run. Kill the Undertaker. Kill Rex, Cupcake, and Brutus. Kill Undertaker with Sarah. Kill Simple Tom. Choose 5 legendary upgrades from level ups in one game. Take 10 hits within one game. Pick up 15 hearts within one game. And that's it. Let's go back to menu. Nice. And I unlocked Nightmare Escape mode. Let's start and see. Let's do a bounty hunted. I didn't unlock anyone? Wait, hold on a second. No one? I did. I won a game redemption options? No. Can I not? Infamy level. Oh, I see. I need to win a game with an infamy level, and I didn't have one before. So let's try again. Infamy level 1. Let's give it a try again. This will take a while, sadly. Boy. The moving while trying to shoot. Let's go with attack speed this time around. Let's see if we can get my little buddy again this time. Up coins. Reduces more attack speed. Let's pick you up. Let's see. We gotta kite this guy out. One shot at a time. Let's see how big this area is. Oof. We kite him out. Nice. And let's see what we got. Hopefully something nice. Between 30 and 70%. 2 reels. Let's go for the each of your projectiles move between 30 and 70% faster. It's gonna be a little tougher. My little buddy was able to help me out much earlier last game, so it made things a little easier. More damage. There we go. That's a little bit better. At least I got damage this time around. This deputy's gonna kill me. I'm already down by 2. Or down by 1. Let's pick it up and let's see what we got in our box. For each current health get bigger. Your first piercing shot now damages the closest enemy. Gain 1 pierce. Okay, we'll take that. Let's go ahead and go for attack speed and pick up. Nope. Nope, never mind. Let's go for attack speed. Let's try again. Let's retry and see if we can get some better drops this time around. Press any key, and then if I die one more time, then I will just switch over and start writing some code. But this isn't bad. I think I'll try out another reverse bullet hell. There were some recommendations, unless somebody has any. Damage. Nice. I really like getting damage first. It just helps you kill off these small fries. Kite this guy out. Let's see. He's not so bad early on. You just gotta kite him. And then I have to run back and pick up all the people that the items that I didn't get. Let's see what we get this time. Fire upon taking damage. Have a random size and damage boost. Each of your projectiles has a random size and damage boost. All right, let's try that. Every time I take damage. Let's do more damage, and then we'll go for speed next time. Nice. That's not bad. It's a neat little trick. Let's get my health back. And I guess let's go for more damage then, I guess, since there's no attack speed option. I really hope I get my little buddy soon. Let's see what we get this time. Heal for 1 after you dash. Drops a dynamite before each dash. It explodes and inflicts damage. Your first piercing shot now targets closest enemy. Gain 1 pierce. I'll go for that. And then finally I get some attack speed. Coupled with the piercing shot, it's not bad. Now, one thing that is unique about this one is it looks like when you gain more damage, it looks like when you hit somebody, they die as well. So, like, other games have it so that, the one that I was playing before this, Halls of Torment, even if they run into you, they stay alive. Let's do attack speed. So that's not bad. Gain more movement speed. Raise the range of your area effect and pickup range by 20%. Sure. This deputy shouldn't be too hard because I can kite him out and I have enough damage that it won't take forever. There we go. For each bounce you have, summon a tumbleweed that bounces off the screen's edge. It deals your current damage to enemies it hits. I don't know what that will do. Attract your collectibles from further away. Let's go for that one. I really want my little buddy back. Maybe I'll get it next time my deputy comes on the screen. Let's go for the attack speed. Not bad. Looks like I need more damage again, though. More damage! Nice. Is that a new creature? Is that a deputy? No. No, it is not, apparently. Deputies take more than a couple hits. But my infamy's up one, so... Oh, goodness, I didn't even realize I've taken a bunch of hits. Let's go for damage and... see if there's some health somewhere. There is! There's some health. Nice. Attack speed. At one point I have to do crit, I feel like. I didn't even realize that I had gotten hit so many times. There I am back down to one again. I really got to get my little buddy. Attack speed. Let's see. Give me my little buddy. Permanently augment your damage. I'm gonna go for the bigger and more health. Let's see. Now we have enough attack speed. I really wish I had my buddy. The little buddy was great. He brought all the coins to you. I leveled up really fast. Let's go for more damage. Just because again your character can't fire and move, so you're just kind of forced to. Let's go for a little bit more attack speed. Yep, there I go. And let's go and write some code. I wanted to try something this time around. So I like to steal ideas from people in various coding boot camps for fun. So let's go and let's make a restaurant. Let's make a restaurant API. And let's go and make directory API. Let's zoom in. Let's go and do this with Node and Postgres and all the others. So we're going to switch into the API and we're going to clear. We're going to do npm init. Yeah, there it is. Dash yes to everything. And then what we're going to do is we want to use .env. We're going to use Express. We want to use the JSON Web Token. We want to use bcrypt. And we want to use Postgres. Let's take a look. Node Postgres, and we're going to use SQLize. So let's do SQLize, and we need to do Postgres, so that's PG, and then PG. And that'll give us all of the pieces that we need for that. I think that'll set us up with the main pieces. Yeah, I think that'll set us up with the main pieces. Let's go ahead and go from there. Let's see. We want, yeah. So let's go ahead and open this up in Visual Studio Code and see what we have. If we can drag it over here. Come on, there we go. Sometimes Visual Studio Code opens weird, and I can't move it around. So there we go. We don't have anything set up. Let's create some of the base directories. I like separating things out into controllers. We'll have our, on the same level, we'll do models. On this level, we'll do routes. And then we'll have utilities where we'll keep a couple of different things. Now, one of the things you probably want to do, knowing that, and I dealt with this before, there's an Express or a node validation tool. So let's do, it's called Express Validator. So let's install Express Validator. And if you wanted to do, you could do PG. I'm sorry, if you wanted to, you could do the cores. But let's do also the PGH store if we need it. So that'll set us up for the main basics. So that'll routes, utils, everything else. Let's go ahead and set up our main server, our main file. So we'll come over here, not under utilities. We'll just call you api.js. So we'll do const express, and we'll require express. We'll have our routes. So we'll say require routes. Now this is where all of our routes are located. That means we'll just keep a file where, again, we keep all of our routes and then have our controller code separate. So let's create our app. It's just going to require Express. So we'll start that up. And then our DB will be kept in the DB folder. So, which is going to be in models. So in each of those, we'll create a .index file, but we're not there yet. So to start up our application, we'll do db SQLize, and we'll just force sync. Now, once the application becomes production, you wouldn't do this, and the reason is because it's going to recreate the database tables every time. So we'll drop them all and recreate them. So any data that you have in there, it's going to be no good. But what this will do is it'll create and initialize your database first, and then once it's set up, then it will go ahead and start your app. And you want that because otherwise what's going to happen is sometimes Node will start up much faster than the database tables will be created. So you'll go to perhaps do something or initialize, and it'll be like, we're not ready yet. So this creates the database before, and then you can just have it start up. So it's saying, initialize the database, get everything created, and then do something. And then go ahead and do this, whatever we want. That's why you have your .then. We'll have it set up Express so it accepts JSON. And then whenever we're ready, we'll have it use the routes that we're going to set up. We're going to use a .env. So let's go ahead and set that up now. A .env file, and the port that we're going to use is 3001. And you're going to use port 3001 because if we're using React, it's going to use port 3000. If we're using Angular, it's port 4200. But more than likely, people seem to like React, at least initially, so it's going to use port 3000. So we'll set our const port is going to be equal to process.environment, and from the environmental file or the .env file, the port, if it's available, or we'll default to 3001. Now, if we wanted to, we could specifically, again, we're not using cores here, so we don't have to worry about that. And then finally, we do app, and we'll listen on the port in question. And then once it's finished, the callback function that we wanted to implement is, once it's running, is to say, you know, API, and this is the callback function, so it'll do it once it's finished running on port. And we'll actually use a string interpolation here. We'll say it's running on port. So that should be it. So there's your API, or your base. So let's go ahead and do a couple other things. We'll come over here to our models. Let's create a new file. And this index.js is the thing in our models that's going to allow people to, that's going to allow the system to be able to export it. And so let's take a couple notes here. So first, for our restaurant, we want to have a menu, and the menu objects are going to be, or more so, it's going to be a menu item. And the menu item, and we'll switch you over to this instead, it's going to have a category so that you can, when you query it, you can be like, I want all of the appetizers, so forth and so on. It's going to have an item ID. That way, when somebody chooses to order it, they can. It's going to have an item name, and it's going to have an item description. So there's your menu item, and we're not going to, they're going to be their own separate files. So let's create those in the meantime. So in our models folder, let's create a menu item.js, and we'll move this description over to here. And then inside of here, we're also going to allow people to have a user. So people will log in and create their orders, and then a reservation, so that people can have reservations. But we also want to be able to allow people to order when they're not. But anyway, when they're not logged in. So we'll also need an orders table. Now, the quickest and simplest user configuration, I would think, is going to be just a simple user. So let's do that real quick. One, we're going to encrypt the user passwords when they log in, and when they create their user. So again, no one wants plain text passwords. It's a really bad industry practice, which no one does. No one expects that. So if you're ever starting off and you're like, I'm building a little application, don't do it. Don't let yourself fall into that trap. So we'll create our const user. And again, the table is going to be called users, but you're creating one user. Keep that in mind as you go forward. Define our user here, and we'll go into the pieces of it here. It will by default have an ID, but we can give it one anyway. And we could specifically call it user ID to be more specific. So we can use that user ID. We'll just use an integer. And that's perfectly fine. And then we will allow null to be false. That means it's not allowed to be empty. Thank you for correcting me. It is going to be the primary key. And we want to auto increment So that's our user ID. We're going to have an email address. It's going to be a type of data types dot string, and we will not allow null, and we will make it so that it is unique. And if it's not unique, what we're going to say is this. We're going to say force it to be true, and we're going to say the message for it is email address is already in use. So that'll handle that for the unique. And we're going to validate it. We're going to say is email and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to say args true and message you know, that is an invalid email address. So that'll be our email. And then lastly, we'll just do password. We'll keep it real simple. So just email address, no username, and the password. The type's going to be, again, data types string. We're going to allow null to be false. You can't have an empty password. And we could do more validation. So we could say validate of a particular length, but you know, we don't really care past the point. So we'll just say minimum length of 4. So the password has to be at least 4 long. Now we're going to create a couple hooks on our object here. The idea behind the hooks is to do the following. When we create a user, we want to encrypt the password, and when we update a user, if the password changes, we want to update the user. So we're going to do the following. We're going to say async. Before a user is created, we're going to take that new user data, and we're going to say the new user data dot password is going to be equal to, and here's where that bcrypt comes into play. We're going to hash the password so that, again, it's not plain text. So we would say await bcrypt, and that's why we have this function being asynchronous. We do bcrypt.hash, and we're going to hash the new user data dot password and 10. And then we're going to return new user data. And then before updates, so we'll do the same thing. We'll say asynchronous. Before an update happens, when we update the user data, again, same thing. So we're going to say updated user data dot password is going to be equal to, and again, it's pretty much going to be the same thing here. We're going to hash it. So we'll say await bcrypt hash. It's going to be updated user password, updated user data dot password, and then finally we're going to return this updated user data. So that's what that does. In this particular instance, we could create timestamps, but we don't need to. And then the last thing that we're going to do is we're going to add a check password in here. And all that's going to do is create a function on the user object or on the user object or class, if you will, that is available. So you could just say user.checkPassword. So we'll say user.prototype dot check password is going to be equal to this function. We're going to accept the login password that they're submitting, and we're just going to return whether the password matches. So we'll do a bcrypt.compare sync. So there's two versions. There's compare, which requires an await, or you can do it's the same thing. I believe there is a hash sync here. So if we didn't want to do await, we could just do a hash sync. Same thing there. But it's 6 1/2 does the other. If we really wanted to it doesn't matter. We could make this asynchronous or vice versa. But anyway, compare sync. We'll take the login password and we'll compare it to the password on the object. So that will allow us to do that. And then finally, once we're all finished with that, we can just simply say return user. So this is our user object that we're going to then have available in CptWoozle. Now, after that, we have a couple other things that we can create. One, let's go ahead and clean up our index.js so that we have that ready. One, let's get our CptWoozle ready. So we'll just say CptWoozle. We'll require our .env file. So we'll say require.env, .config, and this will allow us to use our config in our .env file. Const CptWoozle. We'll say new CptWoozle. And again, here you have some options. You could either set a default or what have you, and I'll set a DB URL shortly. We'll say DB URL, and then we'll set some options here. Now, I already know the dialect is going to be Postgres, but if you wanted to make it flexible, you could do something like this, where you pass in the dialect. So like if it's MySQL, it could accept that. If it's SQLite, it could accept that. Same thing with the protocol. So there we go. So now you have your CptWoozle set up. And let's create our DB object that we're going to actually pass around. So we can say const DB. We'll start create an empty object, and then we'll say DB dot CptWoozle equals CptWoozle, and then DB dot small CptWoozle equals CptWoozle. And there's different approaches to this too. Like you don't have to go this particular path. And we'll say db.user is going to be equal to require /user, and then we'll set that up. That will create our user, and we do the same thing for menu item, and order, and then reservation. We're going to change around these file names in just a moment. Dot menu item dot order and dot reservation. Now the huge issue that you run into here, we have to module export to this, so don't forget to do that. That way we can import it inside our, so if we go back to our api.js, this allows us to import it. So when we say .models, it's going to look at this index.js, see, oh yeah, we need to export this. It's going to grab that and export it for us. Excuse me. So that's what allows us to then pull that into this file so that it's usable. And it will, when it runs db.CptWoozle, it will go ahead and create all our tables for us. So we have our main user created. Now we have to do user, order, and menu item. So for the menu item, and this is one of the things that you can do that's kind of neat, is we don't need bcrypt, but we can take all the rest of this right down to here. We probably won't have any hooks. We could. We might have some hooks for orders, but for menu item, we'll just copy, and we'll paste you in here. So we'll see. There we go. And then one more, and then just like user, somewhere down here we have to say return user, but we haven't finished yet. So where's that at again? Right before the last one. So, but this is going to be called menu item. So we come back up here. We can get rid of this comment now. Well, we'll keep it. It occurs to me that there's one other thing. Define menu item. We forgot the categories. So category.js, and we'll get to you shortly. Before we do that, before I forget, let's go ahead and add it down here. Menu item. Otherwise, I will forget, because I am a forgetful son of a gun. Category. Cool. Menu item. So it's going to have an item ID. It's going to have a category ID. You are also going to be of a type integer. Won't allow you to be null. Doesn't have to be unique. And now you could do a one-to-many to connect the two if you really wanted to. Some people feel really strongly about that. Some people don't. I think it's great if you feel really strongly about it to go ahead and do it. I sometimes find that it can create problems, but it's a personal preference, I think. So with our item ID or category ID, we're going to have an item name, which clearly didn't work. Item name, type string, and you can't be null. And then finally an item description. Type string, no null, voila. So there's our menu item. We can get rid of you. We'll copy you again. We'll come over here to category, and we'll do something similar. Sequelize category. Define. Why is my double click not working? Category. Return category. And we will have a category ID. And then all we will really have is a category name. And it's going to be of a type string. And that's it. So category ID and a category name. Let's take a look. What else do we got? And we did menu item. Oh, we need to do orders and reservations. So for reservations, reservation, and define reservation, and return reservation. Now reservations are going to have a reservation ID. And how do I want to do these? Each reservation should have a potential user ID, but not necessarily. You could potentially have a reservation without a user ID, but let's say you do have a user ID. It's going to be a type. And we're actually going to use an integer here. What we're going to do is we're going to, if they don't actually have a user ID, we're going to use some ridiculously high number so that there's always a user ID. We're going to do a reservation date. And it's going to be of a type date. And it can't be null. You can't put in an empty reservation date. We want to know the size of the party. So that we know how many people to expect for the reservation. And again, you can't have it be empty. And then lastly, you're going to have a party name. Now, if you have a user ID, it might be under that, but we don't want to assume that there is going to always be a user ID that matches to some value in our system. So there we go. Party name, reservation, done. So then we have our reservation system here. And then the only other thing we want to do is for our order. So for the orders, probably the more complex piece, when somebody orders again, it's going to be the same thing. We can't guarantee that there's going to be a user ID, so we'll allow that. Now, what you would normally do is if you're going to have an order, you would break out into an order items, and we will. So we're going to have an order ID, a user ID that potentially matches it. We do want an order date. And if we're really going to do like an actual system along those lines, you're probably going to want some type of like order completed, order started, so forth and so on. So you have the order date, and then you'll probably want an order completed. You'll want maybe an order total. Then what else? This one, Boolean. This will be a Boolean. And you'll want an order started as well. That way you can keep track of whether the order was even started or not, and kind of keep that track of that. You'll want an order total, which is going to be a number as well, but we want a decimal for this. And the name, let's call it who ordered, so that way we have a name that goes with it, again, in case we don't have a user ID that matches it. I can't think of anything else off the top of my head, so we'll have who ordered it, the total, when it was started, and I guess we want to keep track of when it was paid. So we'll keep it under, I guess, 3 different statuses. I guess we could do a paid or unpaid, and just do that. So we'll just do a paid. And it's also going to be a Boolean. It'll be true or false. Either they paid or they didn't. And I guess we should probably keep a phone number of some type. If we get it from the user, then great, but we won't always. There's no guarantee that we'll have that. So we'll do a phone. That way we'll have a phone number that we can tie it to in case, you know, we need to make a phone call. We could tie it to an email address, but there's no guarantee that it'll be a user ID. So whether it's paid or not, this will be our order. And we now need an order items piece, so that when an order comes through, it'll have a bunch of items. So we come here, new, we'll do order item.js. I'll come back over here to order item. Now an order item is going to have the following pieces. It's going to have an order item ID. It won't necessarily have a user ID, but it will have an order ID. And it's going to then have a matching menu item ID for what was ordered. We'll have a quantity that they ordered. You can't order 1.5, but let's clean up a couple things. This is not going to be a date. Quantity, we'll call it an item total. And oh, I know what I forgot in the menu item. I did not include a price. Now, in a more complex system, what you would probably have is prices that of different times, so you would track them slightly differently, so that you could see what the price is over time, rather than only at once. So there's the price for one, and then when we go to an order item, we have the quantity. We could do it 2 ways. So we could do a price as we could do a price where we get the individual price, and then we will do the item total, which is going to be the price times the quantity. And that should be it. And if there are any specific details about this particular order, so if they want it, like, let's say they order a steak and they want it medium well, you would do something along the lines of maybe item details of type string, or let's do text so it's big. So that will be we'll get a price, we'll get the total, and in the order, we'll do actually the order total. And we just need to make sure we add it to our index. So we'll copy you, we'll call you order item, and you're just going to be an order item.js. So this will configure all of our models for the database. And we now need to do a couple of other things. Let's create the routes. So this is going to be fairly simple. We'll do a new file in here. We'll do index.js. And we'll do this. We'll say const router is going to be equal to require express.router. And we'll say our API routes is going to be equal to require. And our folder, we're going to call it in is .api. Now I'm doing the /. I don't think you have to, but it's a preference. So then we'll say router.use, and we'll say whenever someone goes to /API, they're going to hit our API routes, and we'll create those. And now don't forget to export our router. Next, we'll create the API folder that I was just talking about. Oops. If I don't click too fast. And then our API folder will do the same thing. We'll need an index.js. And again, we'll do the same thing, but not exactly. So we still need the router, but then we'll break out each of the routes. So for instance, the user routes are going to be here, and we're going to call them user.routes. I like breaking out the folders or the files, so it's like .routes, .controller, so forth and so on. So hopefully down the road they'll be easier. So we need routes for all of our models for the most part. The only one that might be an exception to that might be order items. So like we'll have an order as a whole, and that'll have order items inside of it. And then you'd modify the order. You wouldn't modify the items individually. You might though. Let's take a look. Just message me. So we have a user. We're going to have a user router for our user. We're going to have a reservation route. We're going to do reservation.routes. What else are we going to have? Let's do a couple more. So we're going to have a category. Now, again, we're going to have to be really specific about this one because not everyone can edit categories, so we'll have to play around with the security on that one. We're going to have a menu route where someone can get a menu based upon the categories, or, you know, and that'll be fine. So that'll be the menu route. That's where we get our menu items. We're actually going to need a menu item itself where one can create menu items. And we'll have to play around with how we want to do that. Because again, we don't want to let anyone just create a menu item. We're going to have an order route. So we'll do order. And so that gives us the category, menu item, order. And the only other thing we might change is, again, if there's a specific order item, but we'll see whether we just wrap that up in the order. Because you wouldn't change it for a specific, you'd change an order item of an order. So we'll play around with that. And that might just be wrapped up in order. So here's all of our points. You could use a for loop to kind of loop through all of those, or you could just do them one by one. So you could say router.use, and then you're just going to tell it. So for users, we're going to use the user router, so forth and so on. And usually it's the plural. So for instance, it's reservations, categories, so forth and so on. Categories. Keep messaging me. It's a busy night. So you've categories. Menu. I guess menu would just be one. And you could say, let's do this. Let's do user routes, reservation routes, category routes, menu item routes, order item routes. So it would be user routes, reservation routes, category routes, menu routes. We'll do a menu items, orders, and order items. So menu item, order, and then order item. So it'll be order items, orders, menu items. Menu is just kind of single. You can only request the menu of one particular type. And then lastly, we'll do the same thing that we did on the level above. So we'll do module.exports. And we'll export the router. So this sets us up for the most part for most of what we need going forward. This is in the API index, and then we just create the individual routes for all of this. I've done this before. So let's go ahead and lay out this file. Let's do the user.routes.js. Now, one of the things that I didn't incorporate here is how we are going to handle like admin login. So let's ponder that while we're here. So we'll say const router is equal to require, and we're going to bring in express again, router. And in this particular instance, we're going to do a router for post. That's how we're going to create our user. And this is going to be what we call register user. Now I haven't created the function yet, but we will. And then when we want to do a login, and we'll do a login user. Now we're going to have some type of admin login. And that'll be handled differently. And we'll create a default admin user that we will then allow other people to create admin users inside of. So we'll do a module.exports and a router. Now, there are a couple other things that we want to incorporate into this. One, we want to use our express validator. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over here and say const body equals require. We're going to pull in our express validator, and we're going to create some validation rules for the register user. And actually for all of these endpoints, we're going to create the same one. We're going to use user validation rules. And those rules are going to do the following. We're going to say the body of that's coming in has to have an email address. It has to be an email. And if it doesn't, then we'll say enter a valid email address. And then we want to trim it and escape it because we don't want bad data going into our database. And then the other thing we want is a password. All these things are going to have a password. It's not going to be empty. Not is empty. So it can't be empty. And if it is empty, we do the same thing with message. Password is required. So this kind of nips some of the things in the bud, because a lot of people, when they first start off, they're like, oh, we don't need to worry about a whole lot of stuff that you really do need to worry about. You don't want people putting in bad data. You don't want people not putting in email addresses or putting in terrible email addresses. And now that we have these, to use this, we simply paste it in here as user validation rules, and then it will apply these rules to all the things going forward. And this is what's called middleware. Middleware is basically a function, method, something along those lines. It could be a whole piece of software, but generally it is a function that runs in between the endpoint itself and the function that you want to actually do the function. So you'll hit the create or register user endpoint. It's going to run any middleware you want. And then if the middleware is successful, then it will go ahead and register the actual user. If it doesn't pass this, then it won't move forward to the next step. And you do this not only with validation rules, you would also do this with something like an access token. So if, let's say, you wanted to only let people who were authorized in, this would be potentially replaced with, or in addition to, a access token or permission function that would also be a piece of middleware. So that's what that does. And ours, since again anyone can access the login and so forth and so on, they won't get a token yet. We're just validating that those rules match. So that's our user. We're going to do the reservation routes. So let's take a look at this. Again, we did user. Let's do reservations. Reservations won't be too terrible. Actually, we can do categories. So what we're going to do is, for some of these endpoints that may not be accessed as often, such as categories, menu items, category and menu items, what we're going to do is we're going to, once a user has logged in and they're authorized, we're only going to let people who are admin make changes. And what we're going to do that is we're going to validate that user is an admin in the database. And we'll worry about that step in a little bit. So let's come over here and do the reservations next. Let's do reservation. Is it reservation? No, I hadn't forgotten the name. Yeah, reservation.routes. Reservation.routes.js. So there are a couple different things we want to do in reservations that are going to be different, and this is going to start setting us up for our authorization pieces as well. So require express dot router. Const, and we'll set up the base endpoints and then we'll add other things to it. So one, I want to be able to get all my reservations, so when a user logs in they can get their reservation. And they can see all the reservations they made. We're going to probably authenticate that. You can get a specific reservation. And we'll label them kind of differently. So we'll say we'll get all reservations and get single reservations. And we'll have to kind of play around with that because, again, we want it to be secure. And so what we'd probably do is give every time someone requests a reservation, we would generate a unique ID that's specific to that reservation. That way they can't just be like, I'm going to go look for reservation number 5 or number 6 or number 7, so forth and so on. So we're going to have to play around with how we handle that. Now, this is, again, a much more complex scenario. Normally, you might not head down this particular path. But we're trying to be somewhat realistic to how it is in the real world. You don't want anyone just being able to access an endpoint or pull up a reservation. So, we would send an email out and give you a unique code that's specific to you, and that would get your specific reservation if you're not a person who has a login. So, you can get all our reservations for you, or you can get a single reservation, and we'll worry about that in a little bit more in detail. Now, if you need to edit a reservation or create a reservation, we'll do a post here, and we would just post a slash. And we'll let the front end kind of do some of that. So you'd log in, you create a reservation for a particular user. When no user is given, we'll be able to send it to the back end, and since there's no user ID, have it give a unique identification number. And again, there's a lot of little things that I'm kind of skipping over here for the sake of speed, but you would be more careful in a real world scenario. And then finally, we'll allow for an edit where you have a specific reservation ID, and this will only be applicable to potentially people who are logged in. And so this is where the reservation system gets a little wonky, is you want people to be able to edit, but since they haven't logged in, how do you want to kind of do that? And so what you might do along the front end lines or even the back end lines is generate some type of unique user for that reservation that will quickly be gotten rid of, and that's something to think about down the road. So you might do, this is for edit, so let's edit a reservation. And there's a lot of different approaches to how you might tackle that. And then we'll do a delete. So, and it's going to be the same thing. If you want to delete a reservation, you'd have a reservation ID, and we would delete the reservation. So there are a couple questions that now come to mind, and you'll probably want to tackle these. Is how does your team, or how do you as an individual, want to handle more complex scenarios such as editing a reservation, deleting a reservation, creating and getting a reservation for someone who's not logged in? Now, you can make it so that everyone who goes to who wants to make a reservation has to log in, but that can be a little cumbersome. But at the same particular point, you don't want to make it so easy so that you get bots who are just constantly reserving on your website because they can hit up an endpoint. So that's something that you might, as a user might want to, or a business or someone creating this might want to think through. I think for simplicity's sake, I'm just going to limit all of these, limit all reservations to logged in users. So only people who are logged in can create a reservation. They can get a specific single reservation, and there's no need for that one, actually. People often like, why wouldn't you want to get a single reservation? Very simply, if you can get all of your reservations, why get a single one? Like, you're going to get all the information anyway. Why get a single one? You're going to have the full access to it anyway. So you don't need to get all reservations. You can just get reservations for a particular user, and that'll be handled in here. Now, there are a couple things that we want to address in here. We could do validation, but one of the things we also want to make sure that we do is we want to authorize the user, and that's where we come into this next step. So since we're going to limit all reservations to the people who are logged in, we now actually need to allow a person to both log in and verify whatever access token they're going to be given. So we're going to come over here and create our auth utils, and handle some of that. So in our authorization utility, one, we need to create a JSON Web Token. So we'll include our JSON Web Token piece. And again, this is not the only approach. There's tons of different ways of doing this, and other people like different folder structures and different things like that. We'll need a secret. I'll use just change me. But if, again, you wanted to be kind of thoughtful about using environmental variables, you could say, you know, JSON secret, or, you know, change me. And we'll just leave it at that. And that way, in your .env file, you could put in, you know, whatever you wanted in terms of your JSON secret. So you could say, you know, your JSON secret is equal to some secret word or phrase. And it would default to this one over that. So there's that. Now, I will be creating a create token function, but not right now. And again, there's a couple different ways you can do this. You could either do a straight function and then export it, or you could do this. You could say exports dot, and I'm going to call my function verify access token. We're going to accept the request, and again, this is another example of middleware. We're going to have our response, and then we're going to say next. And next, in case for those who may not know, just simply allows you to go to the next phase. So if we were to put it, say, in the middle of a GET request, it would verify the access token, and then by saying next, it would allow you to go to the next phase, to the next piece. So we're going to get our token first. We're going to get them from the request headers. And there's a bunch of different ways in which you could do this. I'm going to have it so that my front end is going to send back the token called, we'll call it RES access token, for restaurant access token. And again, everyone's different. Some people prefer to use the bearer token, and that's perfectly fine. We'll do a quick if statement here to kind of catch. So if there's no token, there's no token that is sent back, we actually want to stop and nip that in the bud. We're going to say res.status. We're going to say it's a 403. And the 403 status, for those who don't know, 403 status. Come on. Yep, there it is. It's forbidden. You don't have permission to access this resource. So we'll say 403, and we'll send, and again, in a larger, probably more professional environment, to not repeat code, you would probably have a function or a class that ultimately handles your errors. But I'm not necessarily going to go for all of that, but I am going to try to keep my errors from my API consistent. So we're going to return an object. That object is going to have a property called error, and the property value is going to be no access token provided. And you could do whatever you want in this particular instance. There's not one right answer, I think. There are a lot of suggested answers. There are kind of industry standards, per se. One, it is generally a good idea to send back the status code, and it is a good idea to kind of send some type of error, just so that you have that information available to the user or to the front end in case you're kind of working on separate teams. So this will allow you to let the person know there's no token. And if we do have a token, we're going to actually do a JWT verify. We're going to take in the token. We're going to use the secret. And we're going to have two pieces as the callback function. The error, if there's an error, and the decoded. And the decoded is going to contain our information. Now, I haven't written the token function yet that actually creates the token, but my token function is only going to have in it the email address and the user ID. So when that is created, that means that the JSON Web Token that the front end is going to send to the back end is going to contain the email address and the user ID. Why that's important is because when we do our JWT verify, what's going to be decoded is that information. So for instance, if we create the object, and I'll just use it as an example here, if we create an object where we keep in the email and ID. Decoded, when it is decoded, is going to have decoded.email and decoded.id. So that's just something to keep in mind. If you have permissions and other things that you want to keep inside of your JSON Web Token, that's fine. Please do keep in mind that JSON Web Tokens are not 100% secure. So if there are very specific permissions that you care about, you'll want to, when the user tries to do something specific that requires those permissions, you might want to double check those permissions. Now, again, this doesn't necessarily apply to more complex strategies like Auth0 and others. Those tokens are generated fairly quickly, and it may not necessarily be applicable, but just keep that in mind going forward. Anyway, back to this. So if we generate an error, let's say we try to decode and it's a bad token, the person has faked a token and it's not right, what we're going to do is we're going to say status 401, and I'll show what that status is in a moment. 401 unauthorized. So they'll get back the unauthorized status code. And again, same general rules apply. We'll send back an error. And though the status code will say it, will also send an error message back of unauthorized. They just don't have permission. So that will happen. That will happen if they have an error. And then for the user ID, what we're going to do is we're going to add a new property to the request of what the user ID is in our particular case. So when a user goes to access one of our endpoints, we will have both their email address and the user ID. So we can just say request.userid is going to be equal to decoded.id. And that way, when we go to access the request in any of our controllers, we'll have the user ID already. So then we can say, hey, give me the reservations for this user ID, and we'll already have it. Again, it's not perfect because, again, somebody who can spoof it can, get around it, and then there are larger questions that you can come into play. So like you might say, instead of using a number for an ID, one might simply prefer to use what's known as a GUID. Those are a little bit better and a little bit harder to just kind of guess. When you're using just integers for IDs, it's going to be some variation of a number more than likely, and if they can decode it, then they just be like, oh, user number 57 and then 58, so forth and so on. So this is our verify access token function that will be our middleware. And since we've limited all reservations to just logged in users, we would just say include verify access token, and it would go ahead and run this middleware every time we needed to use it. So for all these endpoints, this is our middleware for it, and it will try to verify their access token before allowing them to use this reservation. And don't forget, you do need to include this up here. So you would need to say inside your reservation routes, you would need to import it. So you would say const verify access token, and you would say, you would require from up one folder again, utils, auth utils. And there you go. That would set you up for kind of the base that you would need to kind of start off with. Now, what I'm going to do is add in a couple other pieces in here. So one of the things I'd like to do is I want to use the express validation so that we can validate what comes in. And again, it's not perfect, but it just kind of helps you so that when you go to write your or deal with your controllers, it's already handled that. And by handled that, I mean that if you need the person to send back a reservation date and a party size and a party name, rather than having to handle this every time on each controller, you can just create the rules, and then it will handle this across the board for all of the endpoints that you want to use it for. And I'll do that I'll do that real quick up here so that you can kind of see what that looks like. We're going to, of course, bring back in our body. from Express Validator. And then in here, we'll call it we'll say our reservation body validation rules. And we specifically said that for reservation, we want reservation date, party size, and party name. We need at least those things. The user ID, like I said, because we've implemented this verify access token, we'll have the user ID already that we're using here inside the user ID. It will generate the reservation ID for us. So all we need is the reservation date, the party size, and the party name. So let's just paste those in here. Reservation date, party size, and party name. And we're just pasting them in here just to kind of keep track of them. We can put this up here. And so we're going to do the same thing that we've done before. We can actually, to help speed this up a bit, we'll copy you, come over here, and paste. But instead, it's going to be reservation date. We're going to say is not empty, and we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to say reservation date is required. We'll do party size, and we'll say something similar to that. We'll say party size is required. And then lastly, we'll do party name. That way, for each of these endpoints that we want to use it for, we'll have these rules already defined. And what we would simply say is, so of course, when we are creating a reservation, we insist upon the reservation date, the party size, and the party name. So we'll add this in here, and all it again does is it's another layer of middleware that has to be validated and will be run before it lets us move forward. And for the edit, we'll do the same thing. When someone goes to edit a reservation, we'll insist that they have a reservation date, a party size, and a party name. Now, we should also rewrite validation for this, and I'll do that real quick. That requires one other piece that hasn't been shown before, and that's up here. It's param. And you would use that to validate parameters. So if we wanted to validate our parameters, we would say, we'll call it reservation param validation rules. And we would say param, and this time all we're doing is we're insisting that for these endpoints, we have at least the reservation ID. And again, this just keeps you from having to chase this stuff down later on in each of your controllers, so that you don't have to do this. Reservation ID, and we just say this. Reservation ID is required. And again, we simply can add it to our middleware here. Oops, I've made a mistake. There we go. And so now here's a neat trick. Rather than, since we know that for the put request we need both the body rules and the parameter rules, we can combine them into a specific rule for edit. We'll call it the reservation edit validation rules, and we'll do this by cloning these rules with our spread operator and the body rules. And there we go. Now we will say reservation edit validation rules. So now this combines the two of them, and there's nothing that we require for the get. So this kind of starts us down the path of creating the reservation. But it is now 10 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and probably end the stream in the next few moments. But this kind of sets us up for a reservation over the next couple of weeks. I'll go ahead and create the order items, the category, so forth and so on. We'll test out the API, and then we'll build the front end that allows the user to basically go to the website, order items, make a reservation, and then an admin to be able to modify the menu items, create categories, and navigate around the system, look at the orders that have been taken place, the reservations, so forth and so on. So we'll create all of that from there. Anyway, it's 10:04 p.m. on Monday, March 25th, 2024. Thank you very much for tuning in. I will be around on Friday. I will continue. I'll start off as I normally do with some type of reverse bullet hell. Probably I will continue playing around with the Bounty of One. So I'll play that for about a half an hour to an hour and then dive into writing some code, continuing this. Please let me know if you have any questions or would like me to try to tackle a project. Oftentimes people think some of these projects only take a little bit of time, but they can be quite massive and take quite a bit of time. And also for some beginning developers out there, keep in mind that though Node and JavaScript can be very fun, it's not always nearly as performant as some other languages. So you can use this to kind of do your prototyping, and you're prototyping for your application. But when you need it to be more performant, you might need to change it up and switch to a different programming language. Now, I specifically chose Node for this for speed, and I'm not using TypeScript, which again I would strongly say that it's preferred these days. But as an example here, I'll show you real quick. If you ever get a chance, there's a really nice website called techempower.com, and it can show you the amount of requests per second at 20 queries per second that various builds can hold. So if we look, for instance, for Node's way down here at 331. Even with MongoDB, it's only able to really process about 6,860 requests per second. Now, again, I'm not to say that I'm the master of TechEmpower, nor do I know all of the details, but people seem to really love Node, but fail to understand that it's only but so performant past a point. There are other APIs and combinations that can be much more performant. Even though, for instance, people don't like it, if you look at ASP Core up here, so C# with a .NET Core, you're getting 40. It's way up here at 40, and it can handle 25,000 requests per second. So just keep that in mind as you start building some of your applications and want to move forward with things, that a C# backend might be more performant for your needs as things grow. Now, this is multiple queries. For single queries, it's going to be it's a little bit better. You get 95, but let's see if we have ASP Core. I think ASP Core sits up here at 137 for single requests, for a single query. But for multiple queries, it's just not nearly as performant. And there are other ones that are higher up. So if you get a chance, check out this website. I think it's pretty neat. Yeah, there it is. ASP Core, way up here at 358,791. It blows, Node out of the water. Let's go back up here to the very top. So just keep that in mind. You're way down here at 95. So just keep that in mind. It's not a downside or anything. It's just, as you start building applications and building your own things, you're going to want to keep that in mind for your applications. Anyway, I hope everyone has a good evening. It's only Monday, so the whole week's ahead of you. Have a good week. Take care. Be safe. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys on